All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Allen. This is CTE Intro to Game Design B. It's week 12, and you guys are pretty much just working on your final projects. If you haven't already submitted your ideas, that's week 11. So do that each week. Am I not live? Yeah, I am. I can see myself live. Okay, make sure I have audio. Make sure the video doesn't cut out. Otherwise, it's in Discord. Sorry, I'm talking to the team at the same time. So we're doing the final project. Send me your pitch if you haven't already, so I can see what you're up to. Oh, whoops, I put the wrong week in here. Fix that real quick. So each week you're just going to be sending me the work you've done until we get to week 17. So that's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's 5 more weeks at max. So pretty much assume you got about a month left to do whatever large project you're coming up with. We're going till, I want to try to get it all in by week 17 so that I can kind of put together whatever you guys did, if it has to do with the game. And then we can, for week 18, we can work together rendering out like a video of our final level. Or you might have to, spend an extra week rendering out videos, getting your portfolio together for the class, stuff like that. So I want to save us one extra week for getting your portfolios together, making our video for our level, and maybe a small little quiz or something. But each week you're going to do the progress, so that's 10 points a week. Plus at the end, it's going to be a pretty fat project. I forgot how many points it is, but it's pretty big. It's your final. So do it. I mean, if you do it terribly, at least you did something. If you don't do it, it's going to be hard to pass the class. So, I mean, isn't it kind of like that with most classes and your finals, projects and stuff? Well, yeah. Well, this class is different. It's a project-based class, so show me what. Yeah, it should be fun. Hopefully you're doing something you like. So come up with some project that's fun for you. If it's drawing, modeling, designing, coding, what have you. It seems like you guys all kind of found your niche. Niche, however you want to say it. So the only other thing I have today, I'm going to try to limit the amount of information I'm like shoving in your guys' heads, because you need the time to work. So probably not too much more new info about Unreal or anything else. I'm going to save some of that stuff for the next class if you guys take it, meaning Game Design 2. But I do want to, I'm going to do like kind of little mini lessons each week is my plan. So this week I just wanted to talk about multiplayer and single player level design, since we're kind of starting to build our level here. Instead of just like willy-nilly kind of making levels that don't make too much sense, there's some art to, the flow of the level, the purpose of a level. And it's different based on if it's a single player or multiplayer level. I found this presentation, like kind of teaser here, I thought was kind of cool. It's for GDC. I usually go to GDC, but haven't been in a year or two. It's in San Francisco. And you can see this one just ended March 3rd. So like a month ago. So this is really fresh. But I didn't make it, so I'm just going to kind of fill in the blanks. This was by Elizabeth Banky Schwartz, level designer at Certain Affinity. Okay, so they do like she did Doom, Mafia, Bioshock, the Telltale ones though, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare, stuff like that. So, do you guys know the difference between like a single player and a multiplayer level? So if it's a single player level, there's a lot of considerations. One of the first things we got to start with, like as in our game, is start to try to figure out the size of this level. Is it going to be a massive open world type thing? If it's you can do that online or single player, but that just has to be one of the first things you think about, how big it is. You also SP stands for single player. Think of how many combats are going to be and how long it's going to be. You got to think about narrative, obviously, a lot more in single player. Conversations, side quests, the whole thing. Multiplayer, it's more just like how many people can you jam into a team and how many people fit in the game total. Currently, I think it's like 2 teams of 20 right now. Like 40 players is the limit. I've seen, I think, 40 versus 40. 64 is the limit right now. Yeah, it keeps going up. So that's like in one server on one game at one time. So in the future, we might see more, but any more than that kind of starts to lag your server a bit. Yeah, I mean, yeah, too many people might be a little crazy, but you might want a game that has, just 10,000. Like you could even get that many people into one place at one time, but it would be kind of cool. I mean, I've been on like, MMOs where there's just a ton of people in one zone, but that's a little different. They're not in a battle. Yeah, that's another thing. If you do multiplayer, if you do a single player game that includes multiplayer, you have to think of that too. So like the mechanics might be different. Single player, you might be like, talking to people, trying to figure out mysteries and solving quests and collecting things. And then if some dude online just comes out of nowhere and kills you, that's kind of ruins your experience. So you got to try to figure out how to balance it. A lot of times there's like, newbie zones where like the experienced guys can't come in and just kill you. Yeah, so you could do a private thing where it's like co-op. So there's co-op and there's PvP. PvP is player versus player. PvE is player versus everyone. Everything, everyone, whatever you want to call it. Okay, what it means, you're not against each other. You're against everything else. PvP, you're against each other. Yeah, if you want both, you have a plan for that. So there's a lot of games nowadays that have both. Yeah, we can always do modes. So you can do a single player. A lot of the time, it's you'll play a game single player campaign mode, and then when you're done, you just jump on the multiplayer mode. Obviously, the maps are extremely different usually. So here's some single player stuff. It's got a lot of exploration and kind of figuring things out. I'm not sure what she's getting at here, but probably the fact that you got to build up your character on weak AI enemies as opposed to actual people. Multiplayer is all about the flow, though. Let me show you some good multiplayer maps. Yeah, so in multiplayer, you're gonna want a couple camping spots. You're gonna want a couple places people can go and find power ups or weapons or whatever. And then each team will fight over those couple spots with the limited resources. Generally, the multiplayer map will have limits, and you can't go out of that. It's like a little zone. That's the end of it, and it has usually multiple pathways to go. So you can go the right flank, left flank, up the middle. A lot of time vertical. If you do vertical paths too, so you can go on the floor, you can go on level 2, up on the roof, whatever. Yeah, so that's if you look at like Overwatch, they have like a room where you spawn in that the enemy team can't go inside. Yeah, but while you're so the way Hunter's talking, since you can't hear, Hunter's talking about like campers and stuff and going to your spawn points. In Overwatch, they can go to the door in front of your spawn point, but while you're in your spawn zone, you're invincible, or not. I think you're invincible, or you get infinite like regenerate health. So you could just sit there and just blast them away, and they'd be stupid. You can just open the door, shoot them, walk back in, heal up. Meanwhile, they're out there unable to heal. So that was if you look at Blizzard, they're the best at like balancing gameplay and the mechanics. If we're talking a shooter, go look at some of those over. Okay, that's debatable, but yeah. Hearthstone's a hard one to do. Because they're constantly updating, and they're actually not as bad. Like people give them a lot of flack for not balancing Hearthstone, but they do come in with a lot of updates and nerf a lot of cards. And there are some overpowered cards, but you just got to know which ones those are and use them yourself. So yeah, I like Hearthstone too. I love Hearthstone. Oh, we should. Really nice. On the I've only got to like 7 wins in arena or something like that. But yeah, take a look at some of the Overwatch maps. I think they're really well done. Where they put their health maps, have the different options for the players to get to the different locations, and if it's like a shooter, usually there's one side for one team, one side for the other team. Blue and red, and a lot of times they'll have a capture the flag point, different game modes like that for multiplayer. Obviously, a single player, this would not make sense for a single player map. Single player map is more exploratory. So let's see. On the topic of camping, like try not to do stuff like this where somebody can sit in a little spot that's kind of cheatery and just kind of look through a gap that they can't be shot back at. So if there's a camping spot, kind of leave them exposed. Like I would get rid of this so that if they want to come out and shoot at you, they have to expose themselves. I mean, and you know what I mean? So this is where all the game testers come into play. Like if there's a spot in a map that is just dominating, you have to give it a weakness. So that's why half the time of development has to do with testing. So you can do shortcuts, you can do crazy routes, whatever, MC Escher stairs. Yeah, well, we're just learning and stuff, but yeah. The plan was to have you guys start a game in class 1 and continue it through the third class, 2 more classes. But a lot of you guys are graduating, so this one's kind of just going to be what it is. Cool. Yeah, I probably will too. Yeah, I'm down too. Well, I get paid to do this, but I also will help you guys in my free time because I enjoy it. I just don't have that much free time during the school year to actually spend extra time doing stuff. But during the summer, I'm gonna actually plan on starting my own game and or helping finish this one up. So single player. If you're doing single player, AI is a big issue. Generally, you'll start with like stupid AI that the player can warm up on and make it progressively harder. You don't have to necessarily make the AI any better. You could just make the enemies stronger. Or you could if you can, make the AI more advanced. So you have like just the grunts, and then you have the more advanced like soldiers or So multiplayer, you got to have multiple routes, different ways to go. Obviously, if it's just here's the end, here's the other end, just run at each other. Unless you're playing a soccer game, that's not going to work. So a bunch of different paths. If you look at the MOBAs nowadays, they do the lanes, where it's like 3 lanes usually. That's the most simplified version of the routes. Yeah, MOBAs, they're okay, but let's move on past the 3 lanes and the same generic gameplay over and over. I think there can be more done to that idea. So pickups, if you're picking stuff up in single player, you might keep it forever in your inventory. If it's multiplayer, it also might be forever if it's like EverQuest or something like that. Or it could just be you pick it up, now you use it till it runs out, something like that. So or till you die, and then you drop everything. And then you got to choose, okay, if I die and I have a rocket launcher, do I drop it? Does my killer now get the rocket launcher? We got to... Yeah, so there's a lot of, there's a difference between like Call of Duty and Destiny, where you keep weapons and you build them up and stuff. It just depends what kind of game you're going for, but it's all about balance. Like if you look, I think this is Doom or something. There's probably only one rocket launcher in the whole level, and everybody's trying to fight for the major gun. But there's plenty of crummy, Uzis or little guns. Exploit considerations. Oh, so if there's an exploit that somebody can break, like if there's a cheap place to camp, or somebody can sneak into a wall and just kill you or something, that's they're finding an exploit, you have to fix it all the time for multiplayer. If somebody can go inside of a wall in single player, it's not going to really benefit or hurt anybody too much. Sometimes it could be fun. But you really have to fix all the bugs for multiplayer. The maps have to be pretty much perfect, so it's fair. Yeah, so symmetry is one way to make it fair, or you can, after one round, switch sides, Yeah, that's true. Depends on your game mode. If we're just playing, attackers and defenders, or if we're just playing full on deathmatch or team deathmatch, it depends what you're going for. But just try to bear in mind that things should balance out, so that no one team has an advantage. If it's deathmatch, just free for all, then it kind of doesn't matter as much. if you look at, well, I don't know if you guys are allowed, if you're allowed to play Unreal, you're allowed to play Unreal Tournament. We should try that sometime, Hunter. It's too hoggy. Okay. Clean some of your hard drives out so you can fit it in there. Do you have extra space for another hard drive? Yeah. You should be able to. Whew. Yeah, Doug. Okay, well, okay. Let me see. Let me finish this up. So playtesting, single player, like they should know what they're doing. You know, they should know where they're going. If players get lost, and if you're having like people test your game and they get lost and frustrated, you need to make it more obvious. You need to, unless you want them to get lost, but you only want them to get lost for an X amount of time. You don't want them to just give up and get frustrated. A lot of times you can lead the player with light or colors, or like, you know, I was just playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and it's like if you can climb it, there'll be like either a white ledge or like a yellow handhold, so you know where you can kind of go. And then a lot of it's tied to story, so you should be doing something because of the story. For multiplayer, it's just keep playing it, and if there's a weakness, make it stronger. If there's a strongness, make it weaker until it's all balanced. So it's just a bunch of iterations. It's a nice picture. So iterate often, like it says, for multiplayer. Here's some priorities. So narrative is huge in single player, not so big in multiplayer. This is Hunter, he says. So you should frame the gameplay objectives. Basically, you can either have some sort of map or something like waypoints, or just make sure they know what the objectives are and kind of force them down that path. And multiplayer, make sure they can find the different routes and what their options are, is finding power-ups and so on. Different optional routes for rewards and play styles, and different routes for advanced players. So in single player, you can have optional like areas where you can find like treasures and rewards and stuff like that. In multiplayer, you can have like optional areas that you can get to, but it's for people that have played the map maybe 5-10 times and they're finding these harder places. Yeah. Like if you play, there should be like more to find out in a multiplayer level. It should take you maybe 5-10 tries to figure out all the good spots and the kind of the flow of it. There you go. So this one is a single player. We're just trying to polish it and make it real pretty. We don't have to test it as much. Multiplayer, we got to play it just over and over and over and keep fixing any kind of exploits you find. If there's a collision box that somebody can shoot through a wall, you got to fix it. If there's sight lines that are off, you got to fix that. So that's some of the basics of like single player versus multiplayer. Man, okay, so I have another good article I want you guys to read, but I'll let you read it later. You can find some more articles if you want. I choose stuff that's at least, within a year or so. This one even talks about VR too, so that's a whole other type of level design, which is something I'm trying to figure out now. It's how do we do VR level design? But this is an interview with who was this guy? Pete Ellis from Gorilla Cambridge. They're actually pretty cool studio. Cambridge, England. They just made, I think, Horizon Zero Dawn. They make Killzone, Riggs. Oh, it was Gorilla regular that made Horizon. But Killzone's a big game. So anyways, interview with that level designer. And it's kind of interesting interview because you can see where he lives, how you get the job, why does he like it. They made Riggs, which was like a VR sports game. Kind of cool concept. I thought it was pretty interesting. You can see what his how he approaches single player, multiplayer. They're using CryEngine here. Say blueprints in Unreal or Flowgraph and CryEngine. So yeah, browse through that. That's pretty much the only assignment you have this week is to look through this. And these are kind of like level design. You just take top-down shots so you can kind of see what your levels look like, and then you can draw the flows and all the power-ups in between and stuff. But after you read his article, there's a lot to it. It's a little bit of Witcher action. I have some questions like, what did you find interesting? What does a level designer do? You know, what do you need to do when making multiplayer and single player maps, stuff like that. So not too bad, right? So questions on any of that, Jazz? That little slideshow is right here, and then the assignment's right here. And then your final project, show me what you're working on every week, even if it's just like a screenshot or an explanation. I just need to know every week, and then also share it with the team and talk to each other about, you know, give each other a little bit of tips or suggestions on how to do each other's projects. And that's it for this week. I was gonna show real quick. What time is it? Real quick, how to do some lines and stuff in Photoshop. Yeah, there's a million ways. So depends if you're going for cartoon or realistic. Hopefully, if you have Photoshop, you know enough about what layers are, and I mean that's the first thing. A layer, like, so if I draw something here, that layer is above this layer, but if it's below that layer, it's impossible. Yeah, you can't see it. It's just like a stack of papers, a stack of pancakes, however you want to think of it. But if I delete some of this upper layer, I could see the layer below, you know, whatever. Not groundbreaking science. Usually what I'll do when working with anything is I'll keep the original that I have, and you can just drag it over to this little icon and make a copy. And then you could always just lock your original and hide it. That way, if you ever screw up, you can go back to the original. Just a tip. I'll show you. Yeah. So here's what you do. This would be a little bit nicer if I could use my magic wand to select it, but I can't. So I'm gonna do. You can do an adjustment layer here and jump up the contrast, or you can do it. You go to Image, Adjustments, and go to Brightness, Contrast, and then I just want it more contrasty. I want your lines to be darker and your white to be whiter. So you might have to do that a couple times. I'm not there yet, man. It's all a process. So the first thing we got to do about this bad boy is try to cut it out. If we just want to start painting, if you want to do all the line work, You can either get a Wacom and you can use the freeform pen tool if you're smooth enough to actually to draw perfectly. I know. Yeah, with the mouse, I can't do it for the life of me. Yeah, it's awful. That's the freeform pen tool. That might work if you have a steady hand and you have a Wacom, and you can always Control Z, go back and forth. The pen tool is kind of a pain. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It's P for pen tool, but you can just click and then click before and then halfway through and then after kind of any curve. So I'll click and drag will give you the handles to let you kind of choose how crazy you want to make the curve. The crazier your handle, the more it'll affect the next one. Also, if you don't know about history, your history is right here. I can go back if I make a mistake whenever I want and fix it. So I'll just go in here and start drawing out my shapes. Depends how you want to do it. You could overlay it, like you can do the hand and the wing as a different shape, or I could just, just kind of draw, just match the lines actually exactly, which will take forever, but at least you'll have some clean lines. Yeah, it's not so bad. And then if you're doing shapes, you can go up here. So I'm using the pen tool. I'm using it on shape mode, and I'm doing no fill and a black stroke. The fill, if I did a fill, it would be like that, It doesn't work that well unless you complete your shape. Otherwise, it'll just go straight across. The line through means no fill. And here's your stroke. You can choose, usually I just want to do black as a start, but you can go, fat, small. If any of it's looking weird, like if you go, that's fine. If some of the kinks or the edges are looking weird, you can go in here and change the corners to be smoother, change the caps to be smoother. See how the ends are now either flat or smooth. Some of those options are in here. You can even do a dashed line if you're crazy, what have you. So that would be your pen tool. If you want to go and outline your whole thing in pen, that's fine. I'm not going to do that. Obviously, it'll take a little while. I could probably bang it out in half an hour, but I'm not going to force you to watch for the rest of the class. So that's one way. That's if you want your clean lines. I can let's see if I can do like a piece of him or something. Everything's overlapping. Let me just show you how I would paint. Assuming that I'm just going to crop this guy off to wherever you finish drawing. Good enough. So a lot of times you don't want those hard lines. That makes everything look cartoony or anime or kind of cheesy. Sometimes you just want to paint it. If you look at Hearthstone's characters, or that's a good example. It doesn't have big black lines around everything. It's just painted. So what you need to do is select. Basically, we need to select the character or the background. One or the other. It doesn't matter. We need to have a selection of the background or the character. So I'm gonna try. It'd be a lot easier if it was brighter white paper or darker pen, but I can make do. Another trick I have a few tricks. Oh shoot, it's not gonna work either. I kind of got. Yeah, I can keep. I can talk about it later too. Despeckle. I'm just trying to get it so I can select your background. See how it selects your background? More or less. It works fine on your ears and stuff, but since you have different line weights here, it's going to be a little bit harder. Since this is so light here, it kind of just goes right through it. That's fine if anybody knows Photoshop. You can select anything you need. The magnetic lasso is a good one if you want to be quick about it. So you just click and kind of drag along it, and it'll stick like a magnet kind of. You can click if you want to add an extra point. Exactly, yeah. So if you want to do your art with on paper with a darker pen, yeah. So I do chunks at a time. Like, okay, there's one chunk, and if you hold Shift, you can add to it. You see, you hold Shift, there's a plus sign. You hold Alt, there's a minus sign. That's pretty much for all the tools. So if I hold Shift, I'm adding to the selection, and magnetic lasso is not too terrible. You'll want to learn your short keys if you're going to be doing a lot of Photoshop. If you hover over any of them, it'll show you, I think. A W for wand. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, like B for brush, L for lasso, W for wand. Some of them are a little wonky, but you'll want to be able to be quick with your keyboard. Z for zoom, you want to be able to zoom in and out real quick and then switch back to your lasso. So just let me get at least this corner over here. And that's step one, is getting him off the background. Yeah, obviously, if you want to be more precise, be my guest. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time, though. I can always adjust this later. I'm just kind of getting the gist of it. See, like I missed that. I can just add it here. No problem. I missed this little area. Oops, okay. Okay. Can add it here. Okay. Let me at least get the outside. Yeah, I can do the whole thing real quick. Oh shoot, I messed up. If you just click, it'll. Yeah, that's not a problem. It's just if you're doing this, I would go over it one last time and make the line weight kind of equal to some extent, or darker, or scan it in at a higher res so that if I try to get rid of some of the paper like problems, it won't get rid of your lines too, because a lot of it's from the scanning quality. It's not necessarily your art quality. If you scan this thing in at super high res, I could definitely make it so you could select it in one button click, but it's a lot of the artifacting from the JPEG and from the scanner that makes it kind of look crummy. Mackenzie, I hope you watch this, by the way, because you're the one that asked for this. Yeah, I'm deleting it. Exactly. That's good. Something good to know, because like there's a lot of concept guys here, and a lot of you guys, even if you're not on the concept team, you want to. A lot of you guys do art anyways to some extent. Yeah, Photoshop is $10 a month. I'm not going to condone anything else. I don't know what to tell you. What is it? Is it Photoshop like Elements or something? Yeah, well, I'm not here to talk about privacy laws or anything. Yeah, Skiff 6 is cool. This is CC, and CC is the newest one. You can even get CC if you are so inclined, but I'm not going to tell you how. So, yeah, CC. Oh, it used to be $10 a month. It was $10 a month this year because I have my Photoshop and my photography students. Uh, what's up? Okay, whatever. I did it. Yeah, class is over. So yeah. That didn't take that long. Everybody complains, oh, it's going to take forever to select it. Like, maybe 3 minutes, I don't know. Yeah. Okay, well, 10 minutes while I'm talking. So you got your selection made. However you do it, you could use a combination of marquee, lasso, magic wands. Just make sure you hold shift when you're adding and alt when you're subtracting. Now I got my selection. I can just press mask. Oh, I actually want to do the opposite. So I will use your marquee tool, right click and do select inverse. So instead of the background, I have him selected. Now what I want to do is I'm going to right click again and go to save selection because I don't want to have to select that again. No way. What is this guy called? Fox thingy guy, dude. Okay. So now if I click off, I'm like, oh no, I clicked off my selection. What am I going to do? I can just right click, or you can actually go to select. It's all up here too, but I'm lazy. I just right click and go to load. And then go to Fox thingy guy, dude, and it'll load that selection right back up. So you can use that for many things. Our first thing would be I'll create a new layer and I'll click this button. You guys know what masks are? Masks is. So here's a mask. Let me show you what a mask is. I'll just create an empty mask layer. You see right here, this is the mask. So white is show, black is hide. Anything in between is a gradient of, if it's half gray, then it 50% shows. So I can show you like, if I do a gradient mask here, you can see it's masking out. That's what the mask looks like. And then this is what it looks like. Better example, I guess, would be, oops, see, make sure you're on the mask, actually. So whatever I click here creates a mask over there. I'll show you a better use for that. Oops. You can drag and then just press delete. Don't apply it. that was a mask. So the cool thing is if I do a mask and it's like, oh, his face is gone forever, it's really not. I can just paint it back. Yeah. Yeah, so your colors are over here. You can press D, and that'll give you your default colors, and you can press X to switch between them, or you can press this little arrow. So I can everything I paint with black will hide, and then I press X for white, and it'll show. So hide, show, whatever. You can use that kind of technique to select things out too. But so I already did the mask. This is what the mask looks like for your guy. So it's hiding all the black, right? And the white is your guy that will show. So now you can go in here and call this thing color or color. Don't need this. What is it? A cat dragon? Okay. So what color is he? A light brown. Okay, so let me just get a light brown. Colors are over here. I think you guys know colors. You can go into color libraries. This is a good way. The Pantone colors are pretty good. You're gonna want to like choose your colors. So say I don't know what color he's actually gonna be. Let's see. Like that. Yeah. Okay, is there an actual picture of him? What's his name? Does he have a name? Well, you can always use the eyedropper, and wherever I click with the eyedropper, that'll give me a color. Or just pick a color that works for you. Pantone, maybe not the greatest. We could just choose our own, I guess. Whatever, who cares? So that's your color. You're gonna generally want like to put some color swatches over here, so you can. I just eyedropper them real quick. You'll come up with your color palette, that's what it's called. And then now I can just eyedropper, and I'll get those colors real quick. Sorry. Okay, so here's some tricks. You probably would want to go in there and clean this up a bit more. Probably would want to do your actual line work first, which once you do your final line work, you'll put your line work above your color line, your color layer, and you'll set it to the blend mode up here, set it to multiply. So multiply will basically add any dark colors, but it won't add any light colors. So in this case, it'll just add the lines on top of our color. So now if I want to give this guy a yellow shirt, whoops, make sure you're on the color thing with the mask already. Now I can see how I'm coloring now and it's not going outside the lines. Isn't that magic? You can't see him coloring. It's only staying within the lines. But actually, if you look at my color here, it's a big, huge blob. Like this is what it actually looks like. That's what it looks like. But you apply a mask to it, and now it fits the dude. And you put your line work on top of that, and you're good. So now I can go in here, and you can do a bunch of layers. Like I'll do another layer for his face or something, and just paint that. That way, yeah, it's easier to make changes. And you can do more selections too if you want to do like if you want to select his hand and save that selection out and say, okay, this is a hand selection, and then have that as a layer. That's fine too. Or you can just kind of do it like this and paint it. A couple tricks for doing things fast. If you're using, I'm using an eraser, and usually you don't want to use the eraser too much, but if you're using a brush or an eraser, the bracket keys, the bracket keys, the keys next to the P on your keyboard, them ones, those go up and down. So you can make your brush bigger and smaller really fast, because you'll do that. You'll need that a lot. Like I'll be in here and I'll need to get small here, but I don't want to waste that much time, so I make a bigger one for the bigger spots. And then you guys know hardness and softness? Softness will give you kind of a wow, this is a lower, try to scan your stuff in as high as you can. Softness will give you this kind of soft look. Hardness will give you a hard edge, which you pretty much want hard if you're doing like a cartoon, anime. And you'll want a softer one if you're doing more realistic. Okay. So you can kind of get the gist of it. Say we just continue on for a while. What color eyes you want? Green? Green it is. I already have green right here anyways. Yeah, this is just I just needed something to trace and color real quick. That's a long time. Yeah, drawing, once, you should just crank them out 5 minutes and then walk away. It's because you draw from kind of a finalized perspective. You should be drawing more kind of like, I can't draw to save my life with this mouse, but I will try. I know. Okay, so you should be drawing like, here's your dudes. Like, don't erase. Just draw a million lines. Like you should just keep drawing until you get that final line. But you should be drawing kind of construction lines. Yeah, and you should be drawing like 3-dimensional. So his head has I really can't draw with this thing. Then you draw, here's like you guys are looking this way. The front line, and then you can do like try to draw like a 3D circle. That way yeah, well, I'll get my Wacom next time. I'll show you how to draw like some construction lines and how to you draw it kind of crummy and loosely and sloppy first, then you scan it in, and then you do it perfectly. Yeah, just do it crummy, and do a bunch of lines, and then when you get into the software, then you can spice it up a bit. Let's see. Or you could, so that'd be your color. So that's your color layer or whatever. Now make another layer, and I'm going to go load my selection again of the dude. Make that a mask again. And this one's going to be shadows. And I'll do another one called highlights. You can also do, yeah, you can also do midtones too. Shadows, you might want to do multiply, and highlights, you might want to do screen. Not 100% necessary. You can use an opacity instead, which you still might. I usually overdo the shadows and highlights and then crank them down a little bit with the whole opacity after the fact. So, yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised how quick you can make your art look cool. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. So see how I'm painting black, but it's on screen. Screen only shows white. Multiply only shows darks. If I'm on multiply, it'll show through. What I probably want to do though is you can drop the opacity and flow of your brush, or you can drop it of the whole layer. If you do it with the brush, the cool thing is you can have this kind of build-up effect, you know, if that's what you're going for. If you want it to just be one clean, ooh, that's an ugly eraser. One clean effect, you just keep this full on, and then you can drop the opacity here a bit. So however you like it, you know. And then you can just go in here and start giving them some shade. This needs to be cut out, huh? This little area down here, or is that his other foot? Shoot. Okay. Well, it's easy. So you just make sure you select it on. I'm on your line layer. That's what I'm selecting it with. And now I can just go in and add it to each of these masks. Yeah, right there. Very. Yeah, so shadows, you can do shadows all day long. Make it, if you want hard or soft shadows, your call. And you can make your brushes a little smaller if you need. Whatever, pretend that's your highlights. I mean your shadows. Then you go in and do highlights with. Oh, you can't hear me? Yeah, you can. Okay. Anyways, so you can do your highlight layers too. Go in here and add some highlights. Yeah, I'm not gonna mess with your shadows, but So you probably want softer shadows anyways. All right. Do you get it? Is that enough for you guys? Can y'all not hear me or what? Hello? Hello? Why does my mic decide to trip out sometimes? Okay. Ugh. What a load. Okay. So, I mean, is that, do you guys get it? Uh, I mean, what a load of a good time. Politically or elephants? Yeah, I don't care about politics. I like elephants. So here you can, go crazy with your shadows or your highlights and shadows, and then tone it down. Yeah, I know. And then just tone it down so you like it. You can also blur it too if you need more, but choose where your light source is going to be, and then draw your shadows and highlights. And if there you go. So you can cut out the background too and put them in outer space or whatever. No, and I'm tired of hearing about it. I heard some little kids. I was playing basketball at the park the other day or yesterday, and I heard some kids talking. Did I? Do I? And I'm like, what? As a like literally in my gated community down the street. But yeah, little kids making jokes about it. I'm like, what do you kids know about that? Like the news travels too fast about dumb things nowadays. Yeah, they're awful too. Yeah, I was forced to be given one. All right, so did that help anybody or no? What? No, the coloring. The map. It's all fake. No. Yeah. So I mean, the gist of it is keep your layers. Make sure you get a clean selection and use that as a mask. Once you have it masked out, I kind of like the look of not even doing finalized lines. But if you do finalize lines, it'll look even cleaner than this. And then just make sure multiply is for adding dark layers on top of it, and screen is for adding lighter layers. And then play with your opacities for whatever. Well, and it's from the original scan. Like all this detail in here, that's just from the scan artifacts. So I didn't draw it, so I take no credit or responsibility. No, but see, I mean, that's cool. And you guys should be doing this pretty much with, if you're on the concept team, you should be doing this kind of with all of your art. Yeah, things like this, you want to make sure if there's a highlight, make sure it ends right where it needs to end. That's a good one. Never heard. I actually haven't, but that's kind of weird. Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna can't stop this video. Kenzie, I hope you watched this. I'll do some more if you guys want some more art help. But that's the quick gist of it. That covers. I think that'll get you guys rolling with the concept team. So I'm stopping this video. If you have questions, shoot me an email.